Hi y'all, my name is Jane. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm a junior studying chemical engineering and sustainability studies. So I have studied abroad thrice, three times. Before coming to college, I'd never been out of the country before, so it was like not really something I pictured myself doing. I didn't think I could afford it either. So if you're in that situation, you're like, I'd like to, but I can't really picture it, or like I can't afford it. Yes, you can. Don't feel imposter syndrome. You too can study abroad, and I really think you should. My first year, I applied to do a program, and then I dropped out of the applications because I couldn't afford it. I later got an email from the Engineering Study Abroad office saying, hey, we have extra scholarship money if you want to apply. And so I applied, and I ended up getting fully funded to study abroad in China, which was an absolutely incredible experience. So I was in Beijing for about a month and a half during the summer after my first year. Again, I'd never been out of the country before, and then I was going to Beijing alone, so it was like fully like diving in headfirst. It was scary for sure, but I learned a lot during that trip, got a lot more comfortable with like being on my own, traveling, all that sort of thing. And again, like fully funded, hello, like you can get scholarship assistance. And then I did another program in Botswana this past summer. The Botswana program was through my second major, which is in the College of Liberal Arts. But even if you like find a program that's not directly related to your major, you could still do it as long as it, somehow fulfills some sort of degree requirement. In general, though, like I never pictured myself going to those countries. It, like, even now saying it, it feels so out there, but I've become so much more confident as a traveler and just like a person in general because I've gone abroad. It has really defined my UT experience. So even if you can't yet picture yourself in that space, go to the study abroad office, maybe just talk to a counselor, see if there's financial assistance, make sure that you can like still finish in 4 years if that's your goal, and you'll find a program that's right for you.
Hi, I'm Nevin Lowe. I use the pronouns she, her, hers, and I'm a second year architectural engineering major from the Dallas Fort Worth area. My study abroad experience was amazing. I went to Chile for a summer study abroad. A summer study abroad is different than a Maymester, in if you've heard about that. A Maymester is attached to your spring tuition and it's shorter. So it's usually about 4 to 5 weeks long and it's cheaper. It's about $5,000, I would say. I went on a summer study abroad, which means it was added to a summer tuition, which means I had to pay extra. I would say about $10,000 to $13,000, and it was also longer, and I got more added benefits. So some of the benefits I got was an industry immersion. An industry immersion means that while I was taking a class in Chile, I was also doing an internship. So I got a free internship out of this. Well, I had to pay for the internship, but I didn't have to recruit for one at Expo. But it was nice because from 10 to 2 p.m. every weekday, I would go to my internship, which was with the company Econstruye, which was an architectural company where I worked with the architect directly, and I did both drawing on AutoCAD and I also made designs on SketchUp. And then I had an hour break for lunch, and then I would do classes from 3 to 7. But it wasn't necessarily 4 hours long. Nobody wanted to be in class for 4 hours, which was great. So we ended up staying for maybe 2 to 3 hours per each class, and it rotated between having an industry seminar, which we had with the tour guide that we had in Chile, and then engineering communications, which is a class required for every single engineering major. My study abroad experience was a little bit different than I would say the Maymesters, just because we got a built-in travel period. So I didn't have to pay extra to visit a different country for another weekend. We already had built-in travel expenses to visit both northern and southern Chile. We started out in Santiago, then we went to Temuco, and then we went to Picon, then Antofagasta, then the Atacama Desert, also known as San Pedro de Atacama. That was an amazing experience. Just being able to experience things I never would have dreamed I would have been able to in my whole life. Through this study abroad, we didn't only tour these different places, but we also interviewed and got to visit different energy or indigenous communities, I would say. So we visited a solar power plant, a hydroelectric plant, a salmon hatchery. We visited a dam. We visited, a hydroelectric power plant. I don't know if I already listed that, but we visited a lot of different types of energy or industrial companies that help us understand how these industries play into global affairs, but also cultural relations as well, because we got to visit two different indigenous communities. We visited the Mapuche community, where they told us about their struggles with the government and how a lot of environmental regulations are causing them to have struggles with their land. But we also visited the Aracamino community, and they told us about how they are very dependent on the tourism community and industry in San Pedro, just because they also had their land taken away from them. So it was such a cultural and amazing experience that I never would have replicated anywhere else. And I got to have meals with these two groups of indigenous people, and I just got to learn more about the world that I never believed I would have been able to do. And it was just incredible. So that was the first 2 weeks of my Chilean experience. For the last 4 weeks, we had a homestay in Valparaiso, where every single student, there was 21 of us in total, stayed with the host parent in Valparaiso or the accompanying areas. I personally was in Viña del Mar, which is known as the more expensive area, so we got to be like right next to the Geological Museum and right next to the ocean, which was amazing. I loved Viña del Mar so much. I miss being right on the Pacific coast and just being able to go to the beach every day and seeing the beautiful rose clock. It was the best experience ever. So from there, we would have to be able to take our own bus or way of transportation to our work and be able to also go to class. So I was in my internship with one other person, so that made it easier, but because my homestay was in Viña del Mar and my internship was in Valparaiso, I had to take a longer bus ride to get there. But I didn't particularly mind because I liked trying to feel more independent and take these different risks to understand what I'm doing. So I would definitely highly recommend taking a study abroad that may be out of the norm than what you might think. Like Chile was my big idea because I didn't think I would ever be able to get this replicated experience ever in my entire life. And I don't think I ever will. That was just such a unique experience. Whereas I've already visited Germany before, so I didn't want to go there again because I've already been. And I can see myself living in another foreign country like Germany, France, or even Japan in my lifetime, just because my job that I want to pursue will probably include travel. But I highly recommend looking for study abroads that aren't of the norm, like Chile. You can also get more scholarships for going to South American countries or even Asian countries, sometimes African countries, but I don't think a lot of UT programs offer those. It was the best experience ever. I got to visit such amazing places. I got to have such a fun time. It was the best memory ever. And it was also very insightful for me. I personally got sick on my trip. So trying to figure out how to be independent and trying to be sick and trying to deal with my host mother who didn't speak any English. She only spoke Spanish. I don't speak any Spanish. Was very hard, but I came out of this experience so more well-versed in everything. And it was the best experience ever. I wish I could go back. So when you choose a study abroad, if you go on a study abroad, I highly recommend doing something that you might not normally think. It doesn't have to be something as expensive as what I did. But if they have a Maymester that's relating to South Korea or something not typically major, nothing like England or Germany, I highly recommend it. You may never realize what you get to experience if you hadn't have chosen it. Thank you.